was still on the table, but every single crew member was gone. No distress call, no signs of struggle, just silence. In the middle of the ocean, a ship was found drifting. Its engines were still running, the lights were still on. Everything appeared normal, except for one thing. There was no one on board, no crew, no signal, no explanation. The ship was not supposed to be there. It wasn't off course. It wasn't in distress. It wasn't even reported missing. Yet in the middle of a quiet stretch of ocean, something appeared on the horizon that immediately felt wrong. At first, it looked normal, a large cargo vessel moving slowly across the water. But there was something unusual about the way it drifted. There was no clear direction, no purposeful movement. It was as if the ship was being carried by the ocean itself. Another vessel nearby attempted to make contact. Standard procedure, a simple radio signal asking for identification and status. There was no response. They tried again, still nothing. From a distance, the ship looked operational. Lights were visible. No smoke, no visible damage. Everything suggested that it should be functioning normally. But the silence was impossible to ignore. As they got closer, the unease grew stronger. There were no crew members on deck, no one near the railings, no movement behind the windows. A ship that size could not operate without people, and yet there it was, moving through open water completely alone. The decision was made to board. When the team stepped onto the deck, the first thing they noticed was how quiet everything felt. Not peaceful quiet, but something heavier, the kind of silence that feels unnatural. The wind moved loose ropes slightly. A metal chain tapped softly against the side. But there were no human sounds at all. No voices, no footsteps, nothing. And that was the moment they realized something was seriously wrong. Inside the ship, the situation became even more unsettling. There were no signs of panic, no overturned furniture, no broken equipment. Everything was exactly where it should be. Cabins were open, personal belongings were still there, clothes hung neatly, bags remained unpacked. It did not look like anyone had planned to leave. In the dining area, meals had been prepared, plates were set out, food was still on the table. Some of it looked partially eaten, utensils left exactly where they had been placed. It gave the impression that the crew had been in the middle of a normal routine, eating, talking, living their usual day. And then something happened, something that caused every single person on that ship to disappear. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no damage to the interior. The control room told the same story. Navigation systems were active. The ship was still technically operational. The captain's chair was empty. There was no distress signal recorded, no emergency call sent out. If something serious had happened, there should have been at least one attempt to communicate. But there was nothing. It was as if whatever occurred happened too fast for anyone to react, or too strange for anyone to understand. And that raised a question no one could answer. How does an entire crew vanish without leaving a single trace behind? Investigators began to search for explanations. The first and most obvious theory was piracy. Ships in open waters can become targets. Crew members can be taken. Cargo can be stolen. But this situation did not match that pattern. Nothing valuable was missing. The cargo remained untouched. There were no signs of forced entry or violence. The next theory was mutiny, a conflict among the crew that escalated out of control. But again, there was no evidence, no damage, no struggle. Another possibility was a sudden emergency, a fire, a gas leak, or a structural issue forcing immediate evacuation. But there were no lifeboats missing, no damage indicating a crisis, and still no distress signal. Each logical explanation led to the same problem. There was always something that did not fit. That is when the theories began to change. Some suggested environmental causes, unusual ocean conditions, sudden disorientation. Others considered psychological factors, group panic, a shared moment of confusion. And then there were the ideas that could not be easily explained. Unseen forces, unknown phenomena, something that does not behave according to normal rules. The kind of explanation that makes people uncomfortable because it suggests that sometimes things happen without a clear reason. The investigation continued, but it never reached a conclusion. Every detail was analyzed, every possibility examined, but there were no bodies found, no survivors discovered, no final clue that could explain what happened. The ship remained exactly as it was found, complete vessel without the people who operated it. And over time, the case faded into the background, not because it was solved, but because it could not be. What made it even more disturbing was the realization that this was not an isolated incident. There have been other ships, different locations, different times, but the same pattern. A vessel found drifting, no signs of damage, no clear cause, and no crew. Each case leaves behind the same unanswered question. What could cause an entire group of people to disappear without warning? Not slowly, not one by one, but all at once. The ocean is vast, unpredictable, and still largely unknown. It holds depths we have never fully explored. And sometimes it leaves behind stories like this. A ship that continues to exist, while the people on it simply vanish without a trace. And the investigation never found an answer. No bodies, no survivors, no trace of what happened. The ship remained, but the people on it did not. And even more unsettling, this was not the only case. Across the ocean, similar ships have been found drifting the same way. Operational, intact, and completely empty. As if something takes the crew and leaves everything else behind. A ship without people is not just a mystery. It is a question that has no answer.